She has sung on the world's biggest stages, including the Super Bowl, American Idol, and Saturday Night Live. And she's performed with some of the biggest musicians of our time, including Pharrell, Kelly Clarkson, Mariah Carey, Rihanna, and more. Her name is Norelle Simpson, and she's from Cleveland.
What was that, 2008 is when I got the opportunity to do an audition in New York for John Legend. And I kind of have been singing professionally as a touring and background vocalist ever since.
You're listening to Cleveland Magazine's Cleveland Connection podcast, where we take a closer look at the stories and surprising connections to Northeast Ohio in pop culture. My name is Annie Nikoloff. I've been following Norelle on social media for years, and it's always been incredible to see the musical adventures that she's on. We caught up in January, just after she went viral with a video of her performance of the national anthem at a Steelers football game. To start our conversation, I asked her to share a year in her life, reflecting on all the biggest moments of 2025. I think for those who don't know that much about what she does, it paints a pretty good picture of what life looks like when you're a background vocalist for the biggest stars in the world.
2025 started with the fires in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, that has nothing to do with music. I mean, kind of yes and no, but my family wasn't affected by that, thankfully. But because of the fires, there were a lot of benefit concerts and things like that ultimately, came from those unfortunate events to raise money and to create funds to help families who were affected. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So that was in January of 25. And then after that, there was the Clive Davis annual Grammy party, which we didn't know was going to happen or not, because of the fires and so many people being affected and some of the people being part of the productions and things like that. But thankfully, they did end up having it and they did turn it into a benefit concert, so to speak. So they did raise money to, help those families who were affected. So it was Clive Davis, Grammy party, Fire Aid, benefit concert, which was this huge concert that they did in Los Angeles at the same time at two neighboring venues. It was at the Kia Forum, which is an arena venue here in Los Angeles. And then was it the Intuit Dome? I can't remember, but it was a huge concert. It was virtual as well. All of those. January in LA everything was surrounding the fires. Everybody was just kind of geared towards coming together as a musical community to figure out what they could do to bring their resources, whether it be talents or money or anything like that, to help the people who were affected. So that was all of January. And then we skipped to February. I started doing American Idol. So we had Hawaii week for American Idol, which was really, really fun. Hawaii, who doesn't want to go to Hawaii, especially if you're getting paid to be there? So that was super cool. Then after February, I went back out on tour with Jelly Roll for the Canadian leg of his Beautifully Broken tour. And that was, I think, February to March, just a month. And then after that, I went back to American Idol, where we taped the shows here in Los Angeles. And then after Idol, I think I went back out on tour with Jelly Roll and Post Malone for the Big Ass Stadium tour. And I did that from April until July. And then after July, I came home just to kind of dig into family time because I had been gone practically the whole first half of the year. So came home in July, had a little bit of downtime with my children and my family. And then, oh boy, I feel like I'm missing some stuff, honestly. Like I probably would have to go back to my Instagram page to see what I was posting during that time. Oh, in July, the Smurfs movie came out and I sang on that, which was really, really cool because I've been wanting to get more into like movies, not so much TV, because I've done a lot of TV, just like not a lot of TV, but I've done TV in the aspect of like being a background vocalist on a singing show like The Voice or American Idol or stuff like that. But I really wanted to start venturing into other arenas where like my music, my own personal music is being placed in movies or series or, television shows, which is called sync. And I have had some of those opportunities in the past, but I would love to do more. So the Smurfs is like a huge franchise, and it was just cool to be a part of it because that's something that I grew up on as well, and something that my children can enjoy. So that was a really fun project to be a part of. August was a blur. Maybe that was just like a chill month. In September, I started singing background with Charlie Puth, which was nice. So we did his Blue Note residency in New York. And then we did another Blue Note residency in Los Angeles. And then after that, I don't remember, just like more TV stuff. I did some stuff on The Voice. The end of the year is always fun because I get to be in the sports world, which is like completely different than what I normally do. So it's always fun to just be able to not disconnect in totality, but just like to be in a different field of things. So I got to do a few national anthems, which are always fun. I did it at the Chargers here in Los Angeles, back home in Cleveland Browns game versus the Bills. And then lastly, which was in 2026, but January 12th, I think it was, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's kind of like my year in a recap. I think I feel like I'm missing some things, but that was pretty much the bulk of it.
It's just an incredible year. And, I wanted to talk about that national anthem performance. I feel like you're having a really big moment right now from the Steelers, the playoff game. I've seen all these articles about you.
It's crazy.
People just fell in love with your performance. And I feel
Crazy.
like, singing the national anthem at a football game, there's so much pressure around that. It's such an intense and
Mm.
important part of the whole experience. I was wondering if you could talk about your approach to singing that song specifically.
Well, my first approach is pick a key that I can make it to the end in. That's like the most important because if you start off too high, by the time you get to the end, it's going to be a train wreck. So, the most important thing is picking a key that I'm comfortable with, that, I can kind of play around with it a little bit, not doing too much, but enough to, showcase myself as an artist because the national anthem, albeit a staple, I would say, in our culture. If you have any involvement in the United States of America, the national anthem has come across your desk, whether it be, growing up in school, whatever. Anyway, the point is when people sing this song, I think that it's important to make it your own in a sense, because it is displaying who you are in the grand scheme of where you are, if that makes sense. Like, yes, I'm here in the United States of America, but I am my own individual person. And, whether it be my ethnicity or whether it be my cultural background or whether it be the things that I'm involved in or like whatever groomed me, like growing up in church or just whatever, that's why when you hear people sing it, it's never the same. Nobody ever sings it the same. And I think people carry a certain pride in that, and that plays a huge part in how they deliver it. So putting myself in there, like my own personal artistry or just like whatever the emotion is that I am feeling behind that song in particular is super important to me. And I don't know, maybe that's why it resonated with people the most in this time in particular, because it was an emotional experience for me because there was a slight inner conflict singing the song and taking into consideration everything that's happening in our world right now. So it was an emotional performance for me. And I think that maybe is what really touched people because it goes beyond whenever I'm on a stage or performing in any capacity, it goes beyond just singing for me. Like I have to be able to connect with it on a deeper level and finding the middle ground or the happy space between the duality of being proud of who I am and being proud of where I am, but not necessarily happy about the things that are happening right now is what was the sweet spot that I had to find. And I think that I did pretty well with that.
What was your reaction to seeing it just take off online, to seeing so many people connect and resonate with your performance?
Completely shocked. Like utterly and completely shocked because I mean I've done the national anthem at large sporting events. I would say this is probably like my sixth time doing it, and it's never happened in this way before, ever. And a few of them have been televised before. Again, I don't know what it was really about this performance in particular that really touched people, but it did, and it just like it's completely blown me away. Like 2 weeks later, people are still talking about it, still reposting it, like it's still going viral, and I'm just like I'm speechless because it's just like, wow, I never do anything with the intention of that being the result. You know what I mean? So for it to happen, I'm honestly stunned because it was never my intention for it to be that.
I know after giving me, your rundown of 2025, you've worked with so many iconic musicians just in this past year, but, over the course of your entire career, Mariah Carey, Shabuzi, Charlie Puth, Alicia Keys, Jelly Roll, so many more. Um,
Yes. See, I forgot about Mariah. I knew it was something I was forgetting.
oh
Yes.
yeah,
See,
Mariah Carey.
I knew it. I knew it. But yes, Mariah, Mariah, Mariah.
I wonder if you could talk more about that dynamic when you're sharing those stages and those rooms with those stars.
Just making sure that I am supporting them and not bringing myself in the room, whether it be how I would sing something or how I would approach the song. Like, it's all about how I can support them in their way of approaching their music and in their way of their craft to help enhance their overall experience, whether it be just having good energy in the room or whether it's singing parts that they may need help on or they may need to take a break or take grab a breather in that moment, and I'm not there by myself. Like, it's a group of us. It's normally 2 to 3 singers for the most part. I'm never in any of these situations by myself, so it's always a group and collaborative effort. So I don't want it to come off as if I'm doing all these things alone, but as a group we come together to support the artist in the way that they need to be supported, whether that's, again, good vibes, having fun, making the mood light, making them laugh, making them feel comfortable. Because I think a thing that people don't really take into consideration is that these artists are just normal people, and their musical talents and abilities has thrust them into the spotlight of being famous and all of the things that come with that. And that's a really heavy load to carry. And I think that sometimes they just want to be treated, you know what I'm saying, just like a normal person. They don't want to
Yeah.
have to always have to carry the load of, I'm a famous artist, I'm a famous singer, so I always have to be in this position of making sure my PR face is on, where I'm saying all the right thing or just whatever. Like, I think it goes beyond the singing again to just like making them feel comfortable to have you around to where they can be themselves. So I think that is just like one of the most important aspects of supporting an artist. Like, obviously you're there because you can sing, because if you can't sing you're not going to be there, but the character that you bring into the space, the energy you bring into the space, all of those things, I personally feel supersede the talent.
Mm.
It's about being a good vibe. It's about being a good, it is. It's really about being a good vibe. I mean, just think about it. You don't want to be around somebody that you don't enjoy being around. You know what I'm saying? So being a good vibe, bringing good energy is number one. And then the music and all those things come after that. And, I think the music is always important, but if you can just be a good person, I think that matters the most. Because if you vibe and gel well, then you're going to have an amazing time digging through the music.
I'd imagine that applies to tour too. And I did want to hear more about,
Absolutely.
being on tour, what that experience is like for you. What are your favorite things about being on the road? What's hard about touring? What's that lifestyle like?
I love the hustle and bustle of it. I love traveling. I love being in a new city every other day. I love seeing new places. I love exploring. I don't mind that. I love always just having something going on and to always be experiencing something new. So even though it can be hard on the body, just, you know, you're sleeping in a bunk, although I personally love bunk sleep. Like, it literally is the some of the best sleep that I've ever gotten in my whole entire life. You're sleeping in a little cubby hole on a bus, and you gotta get up sometimes, and you don't have shower rooms at a hotel. You have to shower at the venue, and in that case, you're sharing it with not only everybody in the band, but all of the crew and anybody else that's in the venue. So you gotta, get your bags from underneath the bus, which, well, for me, my bags are always heavy because I just don't know how to pack light. But you got to go through your bags from up underneath the bus every day and take out what you need and put it in a smaller bag. Or if you don't, you got to lug your big bags inside the venue. Sometimes there are ramps, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's stairs, sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's elevators, sometimes they don't work. So it's like you're lugging all this heavy luggage around, to shower, get yourself together. And then you find something to eat, and it's time to get ready for the show, and you're on stage for an hour and a half, and then you get off the stage and you got to shower again and get like it's just a constant loop unless it's an off day where you consciously make a decision like I'm not doing anything today. I'm laying in the bed. You're just literally on the go and moving around every day for as long as you're on tour. I don't necessarily mind that, but depending on just where you are in life and how old you are, or just like how in shape you are, not just whatever, how healthy you are, it will take a toll on your body. On and off planes, on and off buses, on and off stages. It's going to take a toll on your body no matter what. But I enjoy it. Like I just enjoy the opportunity to use my body in a way that I may not always have the ability to do. So I kind of just am in a mindset of just like, sometimes I push myself and maybe it's beyond a certain capacity, but I just feel really grateful, first of all, to be alive and to be here to experience these things and to have the ability to move my body and most importantly, to do the things that I love. So I just kind of like, I don't know. I just position myself mentally to just take it all in, no matter how hard or difficult it may be, because I understand fully that I will not be able to do this forever. So I really just want to maximize the moments that I do have to do it. So I find a way to make it enjoyable. And sometimes that is me just venturing off by myself or going to a restaurant or having a movie date or going for a walk. I love nature. I love being outside. So if I'm anywhere where the weather is nice, I'll go on a 3 hour walk. I'll find like the nearest park or I'll find the nearest body of water and I'll just go and I'll sit, I'll take my journal, I'll meditate. I just want to enjoy it, like it's hard, but life is hard. There's so many things in life that are hard. So I don't want to spend my time complaining about how difficult something it is. I want to have positive memories to look back on and reminisce on and say, I really enjoyed that and I'm really happy that I had an opportunity to do that. So, yeah, that's kind of like what touring is in a nutshell. It's always on the go, but it's so much fun for me. I love it. I think that it's awesome.
I can see how, getting the best sleep you've ever had after long days of touring would be
Yes.
real. So
Yes.
even when you're on a bus.
Yes, even when you're on the bus. It could be maybe it's the best sleep just from exhaustion. I don't know, but whatever the case is, I love a good bunk sleep.
Backing up a little bit, I'd really love to hear more about your journey in music, how you started out here in Cleveland, if you could kind of walk me through that, your first inspirations, your first opportunities in singing, and how they brought you to where you are now.
First inspirations literally just came from the womb. Like as early as I can remember, I've just always loved music. I've always loved performing. I've always loved singing. It started at home, just singing in my mom's living room, learning the music that she enjoyed, whatever she was playing, that's what I was listening to. And when you're a kid, your mind is just a sponge. So I was just soaking it all up. And thank God my mom had good taste in music. So that's the foundation of it. I never had any professional training. I didn't grow up in church, none of those things. It was just the radio and me just literally having not only a natural love for the music, but just like a natural gift for music. And everything just kind of came to me super naturally. And I've just kind of been singing ever since. So once my mom became aware that I had a talent, of course, she did whatever she could to nurture that. She put me in the Singing Angels. I don't know if the Singing Angels is still around now in Cleveland, but they were really big when I was growing up. So she put me in that. I did youth choir that was in Cleveland growing up, the 93 FM WZAK youth choir. I did that. The Cleveland Orchestra had a choral group. I did that. That was kind of like throughout elementary, middle, and the very beginning of high school. And then my 10th grade year is kind of when I started to take it a little more seriously. And I got into show choir at Mayfield High School. And I also did their spring musical, Into the Woods. And I also did my senior project at the time at the Cleveland School of the Arts. So I would say, like, the second half of my high school career is when I started to take it a little bit more seriously. And I had a great community of people who, not only believed in me, but just really wanted to see me win. And they put me in position to do so. And that's kind of in a nutshell the beginning of my career and how it started when I was still in school. And I didn't go to school for music. I graduated Mayfield High School and then went on to John Carroll University to study sociology with a minor in psychology because at the time I had plans to be a guidance counselor. But at that time, I got more involved in things that were going on in the community. I started singing background for an artist by the name of Kanya Doss, who is from Cleveland. She still lives in Cleveland, but also still has a very flourishing solo career. She teaches at the Cleveland School of the Arts now, but also still does her own solo stuff, which I think is awesome. Started singing background for her, doing local things like the B-side, which is a super popular open mic spot on Coventry that a lot of the musicians and artists and singers, poets, rappers, like they all go there. It's on Tuesday nights, which I'm super happy to still see that going in the community. I think it's really important for artists to have a place that they can go and express themselves. So for it to still be going and super popular now, all these years later, is really great to see. So I did that, and just from getting out there and doing things, people started to know who I was, and I started getting calls for like studio sessions and stuff like that. And what was that? 2008 is when I got the opportunity to do an audition in New York for John Legend, and I kind of have been singing professionally as a touring background vocalist ever since.
Within all of that as well, you've released original music as well. You had your debut album, A Story About Love, in 2021. I'm wondering about that
Yes.
side of your career too, and just writing your own music, and if you have anything else coming up.
I'm always writing my own music, but to be completely honest and transparent, Spotify and Apple Music, they pay like 0.001 cent for every stream. Like I can't make a living off of that.
Mhm.
So, making my own music is not it's not a priority for me. I know that sounds terrible, but thankfully I'm just super, super busy with, the other side of my career, being a supporting vocalist, whether that's for TV or movies or touring or things like that, or national anthems or whatever, So like those things that can sustain me financially and, support myself and my family, like those are the things that are a priority for me. But I'm always going to be writing music. I would love to release some more music this year. That is a goal of mine. So hopefully I can stick to that goal and follow through with that. But of course, just like my touring and stuff like that, that's a priority for me for sure.
And well, with that too, I know you relocated to Los Angeles after years of kind of going back and forth to Cleveland. I was wondering, do you miss Cleveland? Which is a funny question to ask on a day in January when it's 22 degrees outside, but still wanted
Hilarious.
to ask it.
Yeah, sometimes I miss Cleveland. I mean, my family is from there. So all of my family is still there. My friends are there. So yeah, of course, but I'm there often. I come back to Cleveland, I would say I'm there at least 12 times a year. I come back at least if I can once a month. If I'm super super busy and I can't fit into my schedule, then obviously I don't get back as often as I want to, but I make up for that when I do have more downtime. Like I think I was in Cleveland 2 or 3 times in December. So
Oh, wow.
I'm always there. I'm always there. There's never a time where I'm not visiting Cleveland because my grandma's still there, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my sister, my best friend, like, all of my friends are in Cleveland. So I
That's
come
awesome.
back pretty often. Yeah, I come back pretty often. So honestly, I don't allow myself time to like really miss it because I'm really always there.
Since we spoke in January, Norelle has unsurprisingly already been having a very busy year. Among other gigs, she appeared on American Idol, performed the national anthem at a Cavs playoff game, supported Lizzo's show at the Houston Rodeo, and sang in a Spotify live session with Zara Larsson. Watching Norelle perform in so many iconic places, you can't help but feel some Cleveland pride, and you can't help but notice these new Cleveland connections in these major music moments. Thank you to Norelle for sharing her stories with me. You can keep up with her at her Instagram, NorelleIam. Thank you to Nihilore for the song Phantasms, which you're hearing behind me right now and also heard at the beginning of the podcast. Be sure to follow Cleveland Magazine online at clevelandmagazine.com on social media, and in print for more stories like this one. I'm Annie Nikoloff. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cleveland Connection.